a neighborhood to the world, as we now call ourselves. So what type of diversity was represented by this advisory committee? Was any diversity sought? Mr. Walker.
Madam Mayor, through to Councilmember Carr, that was not the criteria that I felt was critical.
Okay, and you indicated that you did not seek public engagement on this either, so there were no public hearings, and in fact, no one essentially knew, as most of you understand. I found out at a public meeting, the focus group for the police department, when Mr. Wilson proudly announced that there would be a bond issue. And Mr. Kevin Taylor questioned him about whether it was going to be manna from heaven or actually a bond issue. So essentially, this committee is homogeneous. No gender diversity, no racial diversity, no geographic diversity, no socioeconomic diversity. And let me say that I checked the values of the houses of the three advisors, and they were all roughly the same. And yet you're asking the public, the very broad public, to sign on for a $25 million in bond issues and a large increase to their city taxes. But we didn't engage them at all, and you certainly didn't engage the entire council. So why was the entire council, Mr. Walker, not given a heads up during this time?
Madam Mayor, through to Councilmember Carr, I think the council is in a position now to decide whether they proceed or not in terms of bringing this on the ballot. That's all that's being asked. The whole notion that the public is not going to be asked whether or not to approve the bond issue or not is not a ballot. That's the purpose of putting it on the ballot, so that the public can vote on it as to whether or not they want to improve the streets and parks in University City or not. That's the opportunity that presents itself, and it's council's opportunity at this meeting to decide whether or not they want to give the public that opportunity.
Well, I agree with you that the public has the opportunity to make the decision, but the public didn't have the opportunity to weigh in. At least Mr. Wilson did ask at that meeting, what do you think is important? What would you like to see funded by this bond issue? This bond issue that will come out of your pockets. So, would it be fair to say that there were only 2 members of council who were involved in the meetings, and that they were essentially the architects of this bond issue, since they were the only 2 members who weighed in to what was to be included? Excuse me, Mr. Craft. Mr. Craft, what's your point of order?
She's implying motives of people who don't have a chance to speak.
I would like to let Ms. Carr continue. She has about a minute, 2 minutes and a half to go, and then you will have your chance to speak. Continue, Ms. Carr.
Actually, I didn't get an answer from Mr. Walker.
Madam Mayor, through to Councilmember Carr, no, they were not the architects of this. There was no architect. It was my idea in terms of how we address some of the financial and infrastructure issues facing this city.
Okay, would it surprise you to know that in May of 2012, Mayor Welsh mentioned this $20 million bond, $20 million for the streets in her editorial? That was in 2012, and the Councilmember Kraft mentioned this $20 million figure during his re-election campaign. So one of the things that I found...
Point of order.
Yes, Mr. Kraft, what's your point of order?
I don't remember mentioning $20 million in any of my literature.
I'll be glad to provide that